Hey guys, welcome back to the another episode of Be Remote Podcast. I'm your host Pushpak, and today we have with us Sarthak Goel. Sarthak is a co-founder and CTO at inVoid. inVoid is started in 2018 and it is backed by Y Combinator. Welcome to the show, Sarthak. How are you?
Hi Pushpak, thanks for having me. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. I'm also doing fine, Sarthak. So let's talk about inVoid. What exactly it is, and who are your customers? What problem you're solving?
Sure. So inVoid is helping create a layer of trust when products or communities being accessed remotely online, especially
Mm-hmm.
in times like these, financial products or meeting people online. It's all remote, and never get to see them physically, and it's a thing of past now, right?
Right.
So we help create a trust layer between these people and the services they're accessing. So, for example, we help banks confirm identity of a person before they offer their products, financial products, right? This is both
Mm-hmm.
a regulatory need and a business need. So same with other fintech products, insurance products, and now we also help gaming companies, dating companies, shared economy platforms,
Oh.
merchant onboarding platforms. So we help them automate their customer identity verification process, which helps companies give out products and people access products within seconds and access it from typically anywhere. Face-to-face interaction for buying a product is a thing of past now, and this seems like a pattern will grow immensely in coming few years.
Mm-hmm. So, like the platforms, like fintech platforms, like Google Pay and stuff, they have these KYC things like Paytm में था, like, and then platforms like Tinder, there's this face verification which is coming new. So, like, where exactly do you work? Like, on what part?
Yeah. So glad that you gave the two ends of the spectrum. So we
Yeah.
work across all of these industries, right? We work with dating apps in confirming
Mm-hmm.
identity of someone who they're onboarding, because now people want to talk to trustworthy people and they don't really want to waste any time. And sometimes even if they're going to do a video call, they do want to make sure there's a blue tick,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that
Yeah.
is one spectrum. And then of course, Google Pay, Phone Pays, and the banks of the world, they want to offer products to even people who they cannot access physically, right? Probably
Mm-hmm.
the bank is in a location and somebody who is in a tier 3 city wants to access those products, maybe insurance products.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessary for you to meet them anymore, right? You can
Right.
give it
Right.
remotely by verifying someone through regulated means or through automated manner, in an automated manner. So that's what we provide.
Right. So all these services are for digital products, right? Like even if for the bank or even if for the dating app, right?
That's right. So um, most of the products that we use are digital, right? The cash has gone digital. It's all card UPI. So
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense that we don't meet people physically to buy products which are digitally accessed and
Right.
used,
Right.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's what the synergy is all about.
Right, right. You started a company, like were you remote or you started working remotely in the pandemic?
Right. So when we start work, we were working in an office, right?
Okay.
And we were a small team.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to work physically, close to 4 people working in the founding team.
Okay.
And yeah, and so we went remote due to the pandemic
Mm-hmm.
back in April 2020, and
Okay.
that's when the lockdown hit. And we had to go remote.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
though the good part is we had a good growth rate during the pandemic, the time when we were at home, and we also were able to scale our team from 4 to 14. Right, so now we are a team size of 15 people,
Mm-hmm.
and most of the hirings, most of the people who've joined us recently have been hired remotely through, of course, Zoom.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, so since then we've been remote, and most of the growth has been seen in the remote economy. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So what were the initial months of working remotely? Like because you just because of the pandemic, you had 4 people, and then you hired a lot of people remotely, right? So how was it like?
Yeah, so uh, I mean, we were really skeptical about how things would turn out. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember me and my co-founder were, the day when we had to, so we went remote before the lockdown, right? We were expecting things to go worse,
Mm-hmm.
and we decided to work from home.
Right.
I remember me and my co-founder stayed back and made some pointers and thought about what are some key metrics that we need to track for our company's growth, and what are the things that we should make sure are followed so that our productivity does not get hampered, because we were at a very crucial stage when the lockdown happened, right? We were That was an inflection point for us, now that I look back. So it was very important for us to sort of document everything that we need to do, and we passed it on through email to everyone. So by the time they would start their day one working from home, they had a set of instructions, a set of things that we all needed to follow, right? So there were daily check-ins in the morning. Then we'd write what we were working so that everybody's on the same page. Then we bought a premium tool, Slack's premium tool, because we couldn't work with a free Slack plan. So we did a couple of shuffling. We divided responsibilities, and then after the commotion had sort of ended, we decided to take this as an opportunity, right? So we used to approach a lot of enterprises, and there's a specific way to sell to an enterprise, and it's mostly when you meet them physically and you show them products. They're not very eager to come on Zoom calls. They'd rather build a rapport face to face. But we took this time as an opportunity to connect with them, because apart from us needing them, it was a time when most of the companies needed our product as well, right? Because they couldn't meet customers. They wouldn't want to slow down their customer acquisition charts. So it was easier for us to set up a Zoom call. So I think we set, there was a day where we had 10 Zoom calls. So that was divided. And so throughout the day, there were Zoom calls, a 1 hour Zoom call or a 1.5 hour Zoom call. And that's how we took it as an opportunity that we could talk to more people in less time. And we would divide through 3 people, and then we increased our Zoom calls as well. So we took that as an opportunity and helped us get integration done faster, close couple of deals faster. That was the later part of the pandemic, but the starting was commotion and required some enthusiastic efforts from our end.
So you said, like, you hired a lot of people once going remote, and also you had a lot of clients, like you were talking to 10, you were having 10 Zoom calls every day. If the company wasn't remote, like if everything wasn't remote, then would that be possible? Or like if the company was physical, so does that would have been possible?
So I don't think so, because in a startup, timing matters a lot, right? So if that window that you have to grab the most of an opportunity, if that is wasted in tasks like traveling or waiting for meeting people, setting up calendars to meet physically, that would have definitely been a waste of time for for companies as well as us, right? So definitely cannot. So the credit is there to go of the remote economy and going all remote. That has definitely helped us in our growth.
Right. So basically, if you go to meet a client, suppose if you're in Delhi or if you're in Pune, it takes a lot of time because you are traveling, and it's like 10 to 20 kilometers away, and it takes 1 hour to reach over there, and then you talk to a client for 1 hour, or like in 3 hours you can just have a call with 3 clients. So it's completely different things once you go remote. So
that's true. So so traveling is something that I consider as something which takes up a lot of time, because probably you're traveling by metro or cab. It's difficult to sort of utilize those hours. Sometimes you do, sometimes you're not able to, but that time gets saved, and that's like a very big boom.
So what kind of perks did you get while working remotely?
Did you say perks?
Perks. What kind of perks?
As a company, I think what we utilized was we sort of got all of our process documented, right? And that is something that we wouldn't have done if we were physically present, right? We would have more verbal communication and sort of not be the ones who are writing things down, or probably making a proper documentation of things, making wikis or routines or charts. That is something that does not happen usually when a startup, a small startup like ours, is working in office. Right? Most of the things are verbal, and things do skip in the priority list. So I mean, it was great that we explored certain areas that we could work on, and that enhance the productivity, right? And some tools that we came across which helped us maintain a proper to-do list, or
Right,
probably
right.
making the product more understandable for the sales team as well, right? A lot of technicalities, we could write it down and explain it in diagrams that generally are done on boards, and then they get wiped out. So it's like an archive of documents over the time that we've built, that are going to help people who are going to join us at a later stage. It will be helpful for them as well.
Right, right, right. So what kind of challenges did you face? Because like, of course you had a lot of advantages, but what kind of challenges did you face while working?
um, I think it would be more like um, not I mean, that's like a con that remote or working from home has, is there's no line actually between your personal and official life, right? It somewhere gets merged,
Yeah.
and there are no weekends. And of course, there are timings when you have to call people, or people call you.
Right, right.
So it's very difficult to create that line. And I feel that this is something that we ignore for the major part when we are building a startup or trying to scale it from 0 to 1. But sometimes you need to switch off. Sometimes you need to
Of course.
cut
Right,
cut the
right.
official work. And working from home does. I mean, it's not somebody's not deliberately doing it, but there. I mean, situations where you're not, and you cannot afford to cut the work, and that's something that has gone
Right.
something in the negative for working from home. And then going more technical, right? So we do millions of API hits every month, right? And for us, debugging is something that we need to constantly work on, because a technical company does come with a technical debt, and there are things which are needed to be fixed. Debugging those things and fixing them remotely is something which is difficult, right? Because when
Right,
3 engineers are sitting, and it's easier to pinpoint a problem or verbally communicate things, but
right, right.
it's not possible on Zoom. How do you switch? How do you share screens? How do you switch context easily? So that is something that has been for sure a problem, a challenge. And for a growing company like ours, it's difficult. It takes time. It would have
Right,
taken
right.
an hour if we were sitting face to face. It takes 3 hours to debug the same problem.
Yeah. So, as you said about like you're working on weekends, and it's like it feels like your personal life and official life is like kind of merged into. But don't you think like there should be boundaries, like if you're having lunch, or if you're spending with family with time, these are things also important for yourself and for your mental health, right? Otherwise it will mess up your mind, and then you won't even able to like focus on things, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's very underrated, right? People think that it's important to work, be a workaholic, or uh, life, and this is all we have. But that's something that needs to be cut off.
Right.
Sleep is something that needs to be given enough importance. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Um, so I mean, Jeff Bezos specifically says that he wakes up with a lot more ideas, more fresh when he sleeps for a certain period of time, as compared to when he's traveling
Of course.
and he does not get enough sleep. He does remain cranky, and there are times when he thinks that his productivity is not up to the mark. So
Yeah.
these are some things which obviously these people have made big in life, but when they say it now, it makes all the more important, because it's something that they would tell the younger selves. So it's definitely noteworthy of what they say when they say ki, you should have a difference. You should have a line, and
Of
that will help
course.
you increase your productivity, not decrease it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is definitely point there.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. So you said like you have a completely remote team, right? And after the pandemic, you hired people from multiple locations. So like where your team is located geographically, are they all from India, or you hired people from the outside as well?
Right now we hired people. People have joined us only from India,
Mm-hmm.
not globally. So right now locations are like somebody stays in Gujarat, somebody stays in Bihar,
Mm-hmm.
somebody stays in Karnataka.
Yeah,
So it's all over the country, and I mean some people we don't wish them to come to Delhi. I mean they're comfortable at their homes, and
right,
it
right.
makes more sense when they're geographically located at some other location
Mm-hmm.
because that gives us more access
Yeah,
to resources or to meet people, right? That's a plus. So we definitely acknowledge that some locations are strategically very helpful,
yeah,
and so when they work remotely, that's an advantage. That's like a plus for us.
right, right, right. So will you be going back to the office after the pandemic is over, or you're planning to stay remote?
So we uh, plan to open office, of course, because of the reasons where we say the debugging is something which is very important
Mm-hmm.
for us. But we definitely have realized what productivity could be when we work from home, and we
Mm-hmm.
definitely have a plan to incorporate a hybrid model, or probably have something which is more towards flexibility,
Right,
right?
right,
Even if it includes working from home, working remotely, or even flexible working hours. That is something that we've learned,
right,
and
right.
we don't really wish to go all in like we did for physical
Mm-hmm.
spaces.
Yeah,
But work from home and remote is definitely something that is now there in our heads. We can't really
right.
remove it. That's an option for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies are going for hybrid work, and like 50% of the team will be working from home, and other 50% will be working from office. I think some companies are going for that.
Yeah, there are various models now. I mean, so now when a whole plethora of options are there, right?
Right.
You work from home. You ask them to sit somewhere wherever they want. Is it their nearby cafe, nearby co-working space? I mean, everybody realizes that the work is that is need to be done. And no
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
see them physically.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the power of remote.
Right. So, what's the one thing which you are curious about remote work, and where do you see the future of work?
Um, Definitely the flexibility it provides, right? I mean, um, people love working at places which give them the flexibility to walk in, walk out whenever they want,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives them a lot of freedom to again to manage their personal life according to their own preference, right? If if there is a particular timing that they want to work, dedicate to work, that is up to them, and that's something which remote really forces or asks you to at least consider as the
Mm-hmm.
flexibility of working hours or the place. And
Right.
future of work will not be 9 to 5, at least for a lot of companies. This will look different, and people have acknowledged it. And the reason why hybrid model comes into a place where in places like India, right, where we work a lot. I mean, in European countries, there are a lot of holidays, a lot of restrictions on
Mm-hmm.
work. Right, even the government here was planning 4 day week. Uh, sorry, yeah, 4 day working week.
In Europe or in
So
India?
in India, yeah, the government was discussing about this.
Oh.
They had a plan of
Mm-hmm.
making, yeah, instead of 5 day a week, 4 day a week. So that is something that is being now considered, which wouldn't have been in back of our minds also
Yeah, of
if
course.
had it not been the power of remote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So, one more question. Like, what did you learn from starting a company which you wouldn't have learned anywhere?
I think the sheer time and effort, right, it takes to build something from scratch. The patience, right, that is what I've learned particularly.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Waiting and working and waiting for things to happen. and not getting disheartened or losing hope, because probably if there are opportunities which you lose, if you stick enough or stick long enough, you'll find more opportunities, and that's what we
Right.
have to wait for the next
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. And I mean, things take time, and you have to stick long enough to see them get through.
Right.
So, and that also adds another point that, I mean, nothing comes easy.
Mm-hmm.
Even the simplest of things, right? The only difference between hard things and simple things is that simple things have a well-defined process
Mm-hmm.
with so many people who've gone through it. So
Right.
that's why they seem easy, but doing things is hard. Even the
Mm-hmm.
simplest things need some process, or need
Yeah, totally.
some sort of validation.
Like doing everything is hard basically, but you just need to choose what you want to do, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of people nowadays say,
Yeah.
choose your hard, right? So
Yeah.
it's
So
okay.
actually, I have last three questions for you. A short last three questions. So, what are you really into outside of your work?
Instead of work,
Yeah. What do you do? How do you spend your time?
yeah. So I follow football, right?
Okay.
Sports is something that's really close to me. I've
Mm-hmm.
played sports in school. Plus, since I couldn't play it, I started following it. I mean, all kind of sports, right? I watch football, and then I also watch. Obviously, cricket is something that can't really avoid when you're in India.
Yeah.
Then follow tennis at times in the Grand Slams. So that
Mm-hmm.
is something that I really follow, because I mean, it really teaches a lot about discipline and hard
Yeah.
work, and that's
Mm-hmm.
one place where I get a lot of motivation from. So that's something that I look up to, um,
Awesome.
apart from work, and generally really attracted to how startups or the tech world works,
Mm-hmm.
right? Constantly seeing what's going on, what are the new ideas popping up.
Right.
I mean, that is work, but yeah, as I said, it's very difficult for me to create a line between my personal life and official
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah. So, inVoid your first startup, or you started something earlier as well?
No, so inVoid remains my first startup. However, I've done small ventures before this. One that I did sold to government of India,
Oh.
and so that was back
Mm-hmm.
in college, final year.
Mm-hmm.
After that, worked at ixigo.com in software, and then started inVoid.
Awesome. So, what's your favorite book?
Uh, I think
If you're
Atomic
reading,
Habits.
if
I
you're
mean,
okay, yeah. I don't know.
yeah. Atomic Habits by obviously James Clear, and his book is great. It's a simple read, teaches you a lot,
Yeah.
gives you a lot of context about things around you. So yeah,
Yeah, I heard about it a lot. Like it's help in building habits, and it's talk about consistency and doing small things, how it can make a big difference, right?
yeah. I mean, great
Yeah,
book. A simple read also, right?
yeah.
Probably. So I'm not a very heavy um, reader. I don't read a lot of books,
Mm-hmm.
though I that's a very that's a habit that should be developed, and I try
Right.
to develop it using
Mm-hmm.
Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
So I tried with the simple one, and it's a good book.
Awesome.
Definitely a must
Awesome.
go if you in any field. It does not really matter if you from a startup world, from not a
Yeah,
startup world. That book is really worth it.
exactly. Yeah. So, what are your top three favorite remote tools which you are using, and yeah,
Mm,
which help your
Tools.
company and all?
Three. Yeah. Um, okay, I'll try to name three. So one that I really like using was Pragly. So Pragly
Bradley.
is
Okay.
an yeah. So it's an on desktop call tool. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
always on my desktop or laptop, and I really hate getting on calls, picking up my phone and calling people. So I just try to get them on Pragly, and
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to connect on Pragly. It's not a Zoom call per se. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a phone call. It's somewhere in the middle, right? You press the talk button, and people are on Pragly, and you get connected to them.
Okay.
It's that. So use Pragly.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, then of course I got acquainted with this awesome platform called Notion.
Yeah.
right? I hadn't used Notion before. I was a hardcore Google Doc, Cloud,
Yeah.
and all
I
of the
understand.
fan. And then when I came across Notion, I started building documentations on it, started making notes on it, started sharing my observations, insights with people. Great tool.
Notion is
Love it.
really amazing.
I,
Yeah.
I yeah. I mean, it was very interesting. I saw a company series I pitch on Notion. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I mean, now people are removing slides, websites. They're pitching things on Notion.
Yeah.
So that's the case. And
Awesome.
third, yeah, I mean, appreciating the tool. The tool was always there. It's Slack, right? As startups, we sort of underestimate the usage of such productivity tools or communication in the team. Obviously, we weren't spending on Slack. We weren't spending on any communication platform,
Hmm.
but definitely that is a must, right? Be it a physical setup or a remote setup. Tools like these help you in communication, help you document things. So it's like very underrated, but we should consider paying a tool like this. It will help you in longer run.
Right. Right. So, is there any message that you want to give to people who are into remote industry and founders or employees in remote world?
Yeah, I mean, uh, yeah, I mean something that it's very again reiterating on my point.
Hmm.
Um, should understand how people's so it's more lot more to understand how what people what someone is going through when they're working remotely. It's
Right.
important that you know what's their timing like, understand
Hmm.
them more, right? Because they are in the natural setting now,
Yeah.
and in a natural setting, there are a lot of things that uh, affect
Of
somebody's
course.
situation or somebody's thought process. So it's
Yeah.
very important to accommodate those differences because they're not sitting with you, they're not sitting in the same space. So
Right.
there might be a lot of things, a lot of commotion around them. So it's important to understand where a person is coming from
Yeah. Yeah.
while you're remote. So empathy is something that definitely is something we have to build, and we have built a lot during the remote working
Right.
culture, right? So I mean, if somebody pops up on a Zoom call, maybe it's humor and should remain humor.
Yeah.
When you're on a Zoom call, if your cats bump up or your
Yeah.
kids are there running around, it should be a point of joke.
Of
We
course.
should
Yeah.
everybody should be comfortable around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, if like if you have booked a meeting and just someone maybe something came up and you just forgot to jump on the meeting, so this kind of stuff also happened. I think this is also normal stuff.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, definitely.
yeah,
Definitely. I mean,
it
it's pretty normal. Something at the last moment pops up, or
yeah,
so.
anything could happen, right?
I think, yeah. So the best way to go about this is to keep the communication clear, right? In
Right,
remote,
right.
the biggest enemy of ours is lack of communication or communication gap.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
one thing that we could do to remove this necessary evil is, um, sorry, not necessary, my bad. Remove this evil is to communicate more,
Of course.
write more, probably send emails through a communication platform, right? So again, the reason why I emphasize on Slack was because it gives a lot of communication, scope of communication when you don't really need to
Mhm.
pick up calls or write emails. It's like something in the middle.
Right, right.
So yeah.
And like if new employees are joining in the pandemic, then it's very important, like they should have a call, and because this kind of stuff doesn't happen in all the companies. I think that is very important because they can help each other. You can't just reach out to manager or founder all the time, right? So like if you are in a physical environment, then you just like you're with a colleague and you can sort out these issues, but if you're working remotely, then these things matters a lot. So communication is really important here.
For sure. I mean, orientation of people who joining you remotely, who never met you physically, haven't had that comfort with you.
Yeah.
It's important that you create that comfort with them,
Right.
right? It's not something which will magically pop up.
Of course.
So you have to have that context, give them that comfort
Yeah.
when they're joining you remotely.
Totally. Yeah. Awesome. So thank you so much, Sarthak. Thank you so much for all the insights. And like we talked about like hiring, scaling up startup in remote work, and instead of taking it as a destruction, right, and looking it as opportunity to grow and scale the company. So yeah, it was really amazing talking to you. Thank you so much.
Same here, Pushpak. It was nice talking to you. Bye.
Awesome.